All right, this is a full moon in Cancer. I think we had one last year. I should look back at the notes and see what the comparables are, but this one I think is really intense because we are in Capricorn, so Capricorn and Cancer are opposites, as we know. And at the beginning of a new year, there's usually pressure to decide who we are, what we're becoming, how we're going to do it, what we're going to accomplish. You know, the whole New Year's resolution thing, which I actually don't do, and I don't think any of us here do it because we do new moon intentions, which I think is better because it breaks things down smaller. But anyhow, because we are in Capricorn, so Capricorn are the signs and the doers, so naturally we want to look towards what our goals are, structure, responsibility, long-term direction, you know, what we want to build, what we want to fix, what we want to commit to in the year ahead. But Cancer kind of interrupts that because Cancer is a water sign and it's emotional. So before we climb higher and before we commit to another year of doing, we're asked to tend to what feels tender within us, unseen, or emotionally overextended. Basically, this moon is illuminating emotional debt. So not the kind that you speak about openly, but the kind that your body has been carrying quietly. So the exhaustion beneath the competence, the feelings that you've postponed to stay functional, keep putting stuff on the back burner. Our emotional stuff, our own stuff gets put on the back burner all the time. And the ways you've learned to self-soothe rather than risk asking for help. So Cancer energy speaks using emotion and sensation, and it wants you to experience your feelings as meaningful information that your body is offering. And it's interesting that this is coming up because in my personal therapy, this is actually the homework that I was given by my therapist. She's like, when something happens, you stop, take a second, and think about where you're feeling it in your body and what are you feeling. So it's interesting that this is coming up now. And basically we need to do that. We need to stop and take a second and notice what we're feeling in our bodies when different things happen. So this moon can reveal your inner world and what you've been neglecting while you've been focusing on other stuff, on outer stability, outer works, on progress. So is asking us to slow down, recenter, and reconnect with what truly feels supportive and nourishing. So we have this tension between duty and care, and it's coming really sharply into focus right now. So it could actually be a good thing. It probably is. So you're going to feel the pull between being responsible and being human, between holding everything together and wanting someone to notice that you're tired. The lesson here is not to abandon ambition, but to remember that productivity without emotional presence eventually costs more than it gives. We need to find a balance between these polarities, and that requires us to build a life that supports our emotional well-being rather than depleting it. And I think this is something that we need to be reminded of often. I mean, life is busy. And I think this is something that is important to keep in mind. And this full moon is kind of like throwing it at us. So this moon will show many of us where our priorities are out of alignment with our truth and where adjustments or different boundaries are needed to create more coherence between our inner life and outer reality. We are being asked to nurture ourselves in ways that we once needed to be nurtured by others, and to make sure we surround ourselves with people who are willing and able to meet our needs. And I think someone mentioned, who are they going to leave behind this year coming? Something that is coming up, right? Something that we have to think about. This moon is also asking us to recognize if we've been carrying emotional weight and responsibilities that are not ours. So this is a time to release what no longer nourishes us, like to let go of habits, lifestyles, beliefs that are harming us emotionally, keeping us attached to old fears, or preventing us from fully trusting ourselves or others. There is a Venus and Mars connection here. They are also relationship planets. So they're being activated and brought into the spotlight and showing us how to access this information surrounding patterns that come up about our connections. Looking at our past programming, how it impacts how we relate to others, our subconscious beliefs, our limiting beliefs, our assumptions about the relationships. This is all coming up to the forefront with Venus and Mars in Capricorn. Another thing that Venus and Mars is going to do is we are letting go of old habits, dynamics, and ways of relating that no longer serve us, that are an echo of the past. After January 8th, it is time to establish new patterns and to explore different ways of connecting and expressing our needs and desires. So up until then, up until January 8th, we're letting go of stuff. We're shutting, we're releasing. It's going. And full moon is about releasing. It's going. After that, we're going to see how we need to establish our new patterns to move forward. We may also feel torn between prioritizing our emotional needs and taking care of practical needs. So we'll find it challenging to reconcile the awareness of what we need and what we desire with the awareness of what others need and desire. And in all honesty, I think all things being equal with this moon in Cancer, I think we need to look at ourselves first. This is a time to be, I'll say selfish. The word isn't selfish, but we need to care for ourselves. So we also have Jupiter, which is in Cancer right now. So Jupiter's presence reminds us that growth requires emotional honesty, and it is inviting us to gravitate towards people and relationships that feel nourishing, that feel expansive, that are supporting of our growth, things that are going to help us grow and be better versions of ourselves. We're encouraged to dream big, to trust in the benevolence of the universe and recognize what we are already blessed with and the abundance that is already present in our lives. Chiron, wounded healer, still present, can highlight the wounds that are impacting our ability to be independent and assert ourselves and express our needs and desires honestly. Basically, what this means is it can bring up old pain connected to feeling unsupported or having to rely solely on ourselves, especially during emotionally vulnerable moments. In other words, expect to have a pity party. It's going to be one of those days where we're going to have a pity party for ourselves. But that's okay. We're allowed. We're allowed once in a while. I have them too. But we also have the opportunity to recognize how these past wounds are still shaping how we approach emotional expression and show up in those relationships that require emotional intimacy and vulnerability. Chances for healing, growth, relational repair, they're all available these days. And that's because of Chiron and Jupiter. So even if we have our little pity party, once we wipe our tears and get past it, we'll see what we need and how we can heal and grow with the relationships that we have. So in short, we're being invited to honor what we feel and give it space rather than rationalizing it or suppressing it. Cancer is about creating internal safety and security. So this moon is an invitation to deepen our relationship with our inner world and connect with the feeling of home, safety, and belonging within ourselves. So this brings to our attention to the foundations of our lives and the way we seek nourishment, care, and belonging. Because she is conjunct opposite of Jupiter, and Jupiter is benefic in this position. As we step into the new calendar year, this full moon reminds us of the value of self-care, emotional honesty, and relationships that reflect and support our inner growth. It's a reminder of the importance of tending to our inner home, our inner sanctuary, our feelings, our thoughts, and becoming the safe space that we may be seeking outwardly. Has to come from within first. We need to respond to our needs and our moods with gentleness rather than judgment, so that we can feel safe within ourselves. When we do a meditation later on, I'm going to try to bring you to that space. At least that's the intention. I hope it works. You might find that, and I don't know if this is related to the pity party or not, but we may find that because of the heightened emotions, we're going to almost cry for no reason. The tears are just going to spring out of nowhere, and it's okay. Let it happen, because that is a release, right? And so that's a cleansing, and it's the body's natural way of releasing stuff and returning us back to our sanctuary of self. I found some interesting information on how this moon is supposed to impact various relationships. So I think a couple of people had talked about relationships with others around them and stuff. So this things to kind of keep in mind, or that you may notice. Your relationship with yourself, okay? You might notice sudden tears without knowing why. A longing for comfort, rest, or familiarity. A heaviness in the body, or a desire to turn inward. And that is completely related to this moon as well. An awareness of how much you've been holding on your own. So you might realize how often you minimize your own needs, how quickly you push your feelings aside to stay capable, how rarely you let yourself be cared for without guilt. I know I'm very guilty of this. So this moon says that you do not need to earn rest. You do not need to justify softness. And you do not need to be productive to be worthy of care. If your body feels slow, heavy, or less motivated than usual, it's not resistance. It's intelligence, emotional intelligence. Your nervous system is asking for recalibration before another cycle begins. So in romantic relationships, this moon can expose attachment dynamics, especially the quieter ones. So relationships may surface themes such as wanting reassurance but not knowing how to ask, feeling emotionally alone even when you're partnered, heightened sensitivity to tone, timing, or responsiveness, noticing where you are strong for others but rarely softened with. You might find yourself asking, do I feel emotionally safe here? Can I be needy without feeling shamed? Am I allowed to have bad days in this bond? This moon is not interested in intensity or chemistry. It wants care that shows up quietly and consistently. Small things matter more than grand gestures now. So checking in, warmth, presence, repair without defensiveness. If something feels off, it may be pointing to a need that has gone unspoken for some time. This moon supports honesty that deepens safety and understanding. So with family and friendship relationships, this moon can stir old patterns and emotional memories. So you may feel more nostalgic or protective. You may feel grief around what is missing or was never received. Resentment from always being the stable one. Clearer about where emotional reciprocity exists and where it doesn't. This moon emphasizes clarity and understanding. It shows you where you feel emotionally at home, where you feel tolerated but not truly held, and who your nervous system trusts. So pay attention to where you soften and where you brace. That contrast will tell the truth more clearly than logic ever could. And finally, as a collective, or the archetypical themes, this full moon carries the archetype of the inner caregiver. So the world has been operating in survival mode for a long time, and this moon is now revealing the cost of that. There is collective fatigue with overfunctioning, emotional self-abandonment, and the belief that resilience means never needing support. So themes that are arising now may be emotional burnout beneath productivity, longing for safety and belonging, grief that has been postponed in the name of moving on, and reevaluating what success is actually protecting. This moon reminds us that care and softness sustain both of our systems and ourselves. It asks us to remember that nourishment is foundational. So, honesty right now offers a very powerful beginning. It is especially important that we be honest with ourselves. The signs, so astrologically speaking, those born in the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, are going to feel this more. There's an opportunity to reassess how they care for themselves and others, and recognize where they may be overextending themselves or neglecting their own needs. They, in particular, are being asked to release outdated patterns and move forward toward a more intentional way of relating with themselves, others, and their own emotional states. So, Cancer, personal emotions and identity are in focus, deep release and renewal. Capricorn, relationships and work balance themes surface. Aries and Libra, the push-pull between independence and intimacy becomes clear. So, now for the signs next week or so, and what this moon brings to Aries. This full moon illuminates your 4th house of home, emotional roots, and nervous system regulation. The wolf moon stirs instincts around safety, especially if you've been pushing forward without checking in with yourself. You may feel pulled to slow down, retreat, or tend to family or private matters. That's not avoidance, it's recalibration. If emotions surface suddenly, don't rush to control or suppress them. Cancer energy works through the body first, logic second. Creating warmth, physical or emotional, helps you regain clarity. As Jupiter's influence grows later this winter, insights gained now support long-term stability. The more you tend to your inner environment, the stronger your outer momentum becomes. Safety is not weakness. It is the foundation that allows courage to last. Taurus. This moon activates your 3rd house of communication, thought patterns, and emotional processing. Under the wolf moon, mental noise may increase if your nervous system feels overstimulated. Cancer encourages you to soften your inner dialogue and speak from feeling rather than pressure. Conversations may turn emotional, especially with siblings or close contacts. But honesty now clears lingering tension. Slow your pace. You don't need to respond immediately to everything demanding your attention. As Jupiter prepares to move forward, emotional insights gathered now help you articulate your needs more clearly and calmly. Kindness towards your mind creates emotional security. Gemini, this full moon highlights your 2nd house of self-worth, money, and emotional stability. Scarcity fears, financial or emotional, may surface. Not because something is wrong, but because Cancer asks you to define safety on your own terms. Notice where fear drives urgency. Avoid reactive decisions motivated by anxiety. Instead, ground yourself in what already sustains you. Emotional reassurance matters more than external validation right now. Jupiter's upcoming momentum helps you rebuild confidence for a calmer place. Stability grows where fear no longer runs the show. Cancer. This is your full moon, and it lands in your 1st house of identity, embodiment, and emotional expression. Everything feels closer to the surface now. Sensations, needs, reactions, and memories arrive without buffering. The wolf moon heightens instinct, which can make emotions feel urgent or overwhelming. But this is not emotional regression. It's information. Cancer energy processes life through the nervous system first. If hunger, exhaustion, fear, or sadness arise, they are signals for care, not control. The temptation may be to manage how you're perceived, but this lunation asks you to tend inward instead. Warmth, rest, nourishment, and emotional honesty are not indulgences. They are regulation tools. Jupiter amplifies awareness now so that future growth can arrive with less resistance when it moves forward later this winter. This full moon helps you reclaim emotional authority, not by silencing feelings, but by responding to them skillfully. When you honor your body's needs, clarity replaces overwhelm. Leo. This moon activates your 12th house, illuminating emotional material that usually stays below conscious awareness. Under the wolf moon, you may feel more sensitive to environments, people, or emotional undercurrents you normally brush past. Fatigue, vivid dreams, or sudden waves of feeling are signs your system is asking for rest and integration. Cancer energy encourages withdrawal without guilt. This is not a time to push through exhaustion or demand clarity from yourself. Emotional processing happens quietly now through sleep, solitude, and compassionate self-observation. If old fears or insecurities resurface, they are ready to be released, not reignited. Jupiter's influence suggests that insights gained during stillness now will free up energy later this winter. By calming your inner wolf, reducing stimulation, and allowing softness, you prepare for renewed confidence and creative flow. Rest restores what effort cannot. Virgo. This full moon lights up your 11th house of friendships, community, and future goals, drawing attention to the emotional dynamics within your social world. The wolf moon may reveal where you've been overfunctioning for others or staying loyal to group roles that no longer feel supportive. Cancer asks you to reassess where you truly feel safe and seen. You may notice emotional fatigue tied to obligations that once felt purposeful. This lunation encourages you to release connections rooted in duty rather than mutual care. You are allowed to step back without explanation. Emotional nourishment matters more than approval right now. Jupiter's upcoming forward motion brings renewed optimism around your vision, but only after you clear space for it. When you choose belonging over obligation, alignment follows naturally. Community should replenish you, not drain you. Libra. This full moon activates your 10th house of career, reputation, and visibility, highlighting the emotional cost of ambition. Under the wolf moon, pressure to perform, stay composed, or meet expectations may feel heavier than usual. Cancer reminds you that behind every achievement is a human nervous system that needs care. You may feel torn between professional responsibility and emotional needs. This lunation asks you to acknowledge both without minimizing either. Vulnerability does not undermine authority, it humanizes it. Honest conversations about capacity and support can prevent burnout. Jupiter's future momentum supports career growth rooted in authenticity rather than emotional suppression. The more you tend to your inner stability now, the more sustainable your success becomes. Emotional support is part of leadership, not a distraction from it. Scorpio. This full moon moves through your 9th house of belief systems, meaning, and emotional perspective. The wolf moon may stir restlessness, doubt, or a desire for answers about where you're headed. Cancer energy asks you to pause intellectual searching and check in emotionally first. Uncertainty does not require immediate resolution. If fear arises, it's likely asking for reassurance, not certainty. Ground yourself in familiar rituals, spiritual practices, or conversations that restore emotional steadiness. Insight arrives more easily when your nervous system feels safe. Jupiter's upcoming forward motion helps translate emotional awareness into renewed faith and direction. This full moon teaches you that wisdom emerges from emotional presence, not urgency. Calm creates clarity. Sagittarius. This full moon activates your 8th house of intimacy, trust, and emotional exchange, marking an important turning point. The wolf moon may surface fears around dependence, vulnerability, or shared emotional weight. Cancer asks you to soften defenses built during survival periods. You may realize where self-reliance has become emotional isolation. Relief begins when you allow support to flow both ways. This lunation encourages emotional honesty, not as exposure, but as regulation. Safe intimacy stabilizes you rather than threatens your freedom. Jupiter's upcoming forward motion is especially significant, bringing expansion through emotional truth and deeper connection. What you acknowledge now becomes the foundation for lasting relief. Letting others support you strengthens your resilience. Capricorn. This full moon lands in your 7th house of partnerships, highlighting emotional dynamics in close relationships. Under the wolf moon, old patterns around responsibility, containment, or emotional restraint may surface. Cancer asks you to meet others not just with reliability, but with presence. This is a moment for honest dialogue about needs, boundaries, and reciprocity. You don't have to carry everything alone, and you don't have to earn care through endurance. Emotional openness now deepens trust and recalibrates balance. Jupiter's upcoming momentum supports relationships that are emotionally sustainable rather than transactional. When you allow vulnerability, partnership becomes a source of stability rather than pressure. Shared care strengthens commitment. Aquarius. This full moon activates your 6th house of daily routines, health, and nervous system maintenance. The wolf moon highlights how emotional stress accumulates in the body when it goes unaddressed. Cancer asks you to tend to small signals before they escalate. You may notice tension, fatigue, or restlessness linked to emotional overload. This is not a productivity issue, it is a regulation issue. Gentle adjustments to routines, rest, and emotional pacing restore balance more effectively than pushing harder. Jupiter's upcoming forward motion supports healthier habits built from awareness rather than from pressure. This full moon reminds you that caring for your emotional body is foundational, not optional. Regulation comes before productivity. Pisces. This full moon lights up your 5th house of creativity, joy, and emotional expression, inviting you to reconnect with pleasure as nourishment. The wolf moon may surface fears around being seen or emotionally open, but Cancer encourages softness without self-consciousness. This is a powerful time to create, play, flirt, or express emotion freely. Joy is not avoidance, it is regulation. When you allow warmth and creativity, your nervous system settles and inspiration returns. Jupiter's upcoming forward motion supports emotional openness, translating into creative and romantic momentum. This full moon teaches you that delight is part of healing, not a distraction from it. Joy restores emotional balance. So the interesting thing that I have noticed about this moon in Cancer and how we need to honor our emotional selves and rest and rejuvenate, it's almost like this is a 2x4 across the head to the full meaning of the wolf moon. So this is called the wolf moon because it is the first full moon in January, and January is the time where everything is silent. Animals are hibernating, the world is asleep, we're all in darkness, we're all supposed to be turning inward. So it's almost like we've got like a really heavy duty dose of this energy hitting us. And it's traditionally it was called the wolf moon because it was thought that the wolves howled at this moon more than any other full moon. And they thought that it was this one in January because they were hungry. It's not. I think it's just because everything is so quiet, because everything is dark and everybody's turning inward. I think it's just more noticeable that they're there. So, that said, there's a lot to think about, a lot of stuff that we need to release energetically, emotionally, and to make room for 2026, what is to come. And from what I'm understanding, January 8th is going to be kind of like the launch date of when things are going to really start changing. So with that, I'm going to take you into a little bit of a meditation, which I'm hoping will help you release anything that you've got and maybe bring you to that starting point of a new beginning so that we can look to what we're going to be bringing into 2026. So, that said, let's get comfortable. Close your eyes. Seal your lips and breathe gently, quietly, and slowly in and out through your nose. With every exhale breath, allow the weight of your body to release further down towards the ground. With every inhale breath, notice an opposing upward lifting energy that lengthens your spine a little bit taller. With each exhale, release the shoulders, the hips, and the legs towards the ground. With each inhale, feel a gentle lightness, gentle upward lifting. Feel a sense of lightness enveloping you as you gently explore your surroundings, looking above, below, to the right, to the left, and behind, until you find yourself in the middle of a forest on a snow-covered trail. Start walking along that path. You can feel and hear the snow crunching beneath your feet. You can see your breath. And although it is cold out, you are not cold. With every step you take, you leave the weight of the world behind you. It is dark out, but the light of the moon filters down through the trees, illuminating your path. You look up and see the moon is full and bright overhead. As you look around, you see the trees all around you, deep in their winter slumber, bare branches waiting for the warmth of spring to awaken them. Tall pines stand silent and proud, their branches heavy with glistening frost. The snow all around, sparkling as the light of the moon touches it. Everything feels peaceful and timeless, a world hushed by winter's calm embrace. There is no space for worry here, no chaos, no doubts. The only thing that matters is you, your dreams, your desires, your joy. So beautiful, so peaceful. Nature in all its perfection. You feel like you're the only person that exists. Then, in the distance, you hear the howl of a lone wolf. The sound haunting, yet beautiful. Then an answering howl, even further in the distance. Then more, joining the song of its brothers. The sound of the pack joining together in community, reinforcing bonds and their connection. You think of your pack, your community, your brothers and sisters, biological or spiritual, and joy starts to well within you until you too join in the wolf song and let out your own howl. one with nature, one with your pack, one with your community, one with yourself. Now that you are wholly yourself, relieved of emotions or attachments that you've been holding on to, ready to bring yourself to life with a new perspective and toward what you want and deserve. It's time to travel back down the path from the way we came. The crunch of the snow starts getting quieter, and you feel your breath turning into a mist that will carry you back into your body, back into the room you're in, back into your seat. When you are ready, gently wiggle your fingers and toes, bringing some movement back to your body. Take your time. There's no rush. And when you feel ready, slowly open your eyes and return to your day with a newfound awareness and acceptance. Yeah, that's great. And I think that's what the end of 2025 was supposed to help bring too, right? Like a resolution to a lot of that stuff. You know, it being a 9-year and this one being a 1 year. And there's some other stuff going on, I've mentioned it before, like we've got a couple of the outer planets are moving into 0 and 1 degree of certain signs, Aries in particular. And this is kind of like all new territory. So I think it is going to bring something very different. And with that, I think it just makes sense that things kind of have to kind of disappear, right? We got to lose certain things to make room for some of that stuff. And I think a lot of people have been feeling that, especially, I mean, anyone that's sort of at least paying attention, right? Because not everybody does. A lot of people are just, robots and, with their head glued to their phones and not paying attention to anything. I know I've been much more aware of the energies too, especially since we've been doing this. And I'm always surprised at how appropriate what I happen to feel is to what the moon energy is bringing. And I think we've all had a degree of that, at least a little bit. The new moon is on January 18th. That's a Sunday. All right. So with that, I'm going to let you all go.